to some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
Killer, Mommy. Killer.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
This is my boomstick. Here's Johnny.
I have to return some videotapes.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Hello and welcome to All Things Horror. My name is Ben and I'm joined here with Matt. If you're unfamiliar with the show, each week we choose a movie to break down and review. We give our honest opinions and rate it from 1 to 10. This week we're going to be talking about Hellraiser from 1987. But before we do, let's take a quick look at the trailer.
I have seen the future of horror. His name is Clive Barker. Hellraiser. Beyond any terror you have imagined. A nightmare.
No.
Unlike anything you have witnessed, is born. Because within these walls, the unholy is unleashed. Hellraiser, a film by Clive Barker.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Alright, I'm going to read this straight off the back of the box. So, Hellraiser from 1987. In a place between pleasure and pain, there is sensual experience beyond limits. And in a world between paradise and purgatory, there is a horror that feeds the souls of evil. Welcome to the singular vision of Clive Barker and his landmark horror opus, Hellraiser.
Welcome to Cricklewood. I just love the fact it's filmed in Cricklewood. It's like the most quaint sounding name for a horror movie. I know it's not supposed to be, but it's like I imagine is it as you're more southerly than me. It's a suburb of London. I don't know, Cricklewood.
Oh, I don't even know. It's yeah, it's not that far from where I am. It's only about 50 something minutes. It's less than an hour away from me. Yeah,
no way.
Yeah.
It sounds very, very British. Like, governor, go down Cricklewood.
Cricklewood.
Yeah, it just sounds so quaint. It sounds like what Americans think British places are like.
Yeah. Although Clive Barker's from Liverpool, isn't he?
Yeah, and this is the thing, and he doesn't sound it at all. He has that kind of transatlantic sound, but his friends and collaborators, most of them who are from Liverpool, do have a bit of the Scouse twang, and there was a guy doing the commentary I was listening to with him, like kind of moderating it. I think may have been a designer or something to do with the film. I couldn't quite work out who he was, but he sounded so much like one of the Beatles. And I was just like, it's interesting that he's not. Yeah, he doesn't sound Scouse at all.
Oh, well. So this was written and directed by Clive Barker, adapted from the novel The Hellbound Heart, which is also written by Clive Barker. Main cast is Doug Bradley, Ashley Laurence, Clare Higgins, Andrew Robinson, and Sean Chapman, with a total runtime of 1 hour 34 minutes. I think.
And can we include Simon? Was it Simon Banfield as Butterball? My favourite.
Oh God.
We'll call him a main character just because I feel like it.
Sure.
I found out. Oh, Simon Bamford. That's right. Yeah, I found out that he's very small and quite tiny and not rotund at all.
Yeah, he was one of the characters in Nightbreed, wasn't he?
Yeah, the one
the
little
that I skinny dude, bald-headed one.
Nasaka. Oh no, I don't know. He's a Nightbreed.
Yeah, he had that little.
And he
dog,
also played King Lear as well. I heard he was in King Lear.
Wow, this has got quite a low budget, I guess, because this was his first film, wasn't it? I believe.
Yeah, the first that he directed. Yeah, I know he'd had other ones that were made into films, but not. Yeah, this one, like I say, is the kicking off point, really, isn't it? Of his Hollywood career.
Well, you say
and
that,
it's
but
cool.
he only did about 3, didn't he?
Yeah, because I think I think it's dead cool that his Hollywood stuff is like he's brought a couple of people in, like experienced cinematographer, experienced musicians, editors, people like that. But he's held on to a lot of his friends from his almost like his theatre rep company of people, and that's why there's no huge stars in there. He's kind of, I believe that there was some big names mentioned, and he just kind of kept to who he wanted to, people he felt comfortable with.
Oh, okay.
Which is really, really cool. I like that about it. I like the fact it feels a bit like a theatre production. Especially with it being low budget, the areas are quite small. Where they film everything, little stages, tiny claustrophobic feel to it, and it got me thinking. Actually, I was going to say to you, films like Reanimator and and other ones we've talked about where they've been quite low budget, and we thought, well, why are they so good? And I was thinking maybe it's because in a theatre all you need is a stage and lights and props, and you just get going. So if somebody like Stuart Gordon, who did Reanimator, theatre background, Clive Barker, theatre background, they kind of are able to make something special out of not a lot.
Yeah.
So I just thought it's something to mention up top, really, how amazing it is that they do this from nothing. Maybe Hollywood needs to be looking more at, people who have had successful theatre backgrounds.
Yeah. Well, this had a budget of $1 million and made a box office of 14.6 million.
Wow.
Yeah. It's got
really good.
Good ratings pretty much all round. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes have done it as 70%, which ain't bad.
Yeah, and I think IMDb's 6.0, so it's if my maths is correct, that's almost 70% as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty amazing that it critically. I think a lot of people see it as or critically, they were able to kind of see it as almost like a play and kind of the elevated themes of it. I don't want to use I know people talk about elevated horror and what have you. This isn't really elevated horror. It's just, I would say, theatrical horror with the music's quite theatrical. It's lush and romantic. The editing is quite old school. The editor, I think it's Richard Marden. He was editing films way back in the 40s, all the way up to the 90s.
Wow.
He did everything. He did so much. He even edited some of the Carry On films. So this guy, he's got the right people in the right places, but he's still got that creativity of his own group of friends like Doug Bradley and, who becomes a breakout character without really that being the intention. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
How it's just lead Cenobite and then becomes an iconic character, not like a Freddy Krueger or Jason or Michael Myers. He's completely different, isn't he? He's threat and elegance, and he's hardly in this film.
I know. I mean, you think of Hellraiser, you think, oh, Pinhead. You'd imagine, if you haven't seen it, you would imagine he'll be the main character, which he's not. I mean, it's his face on the front of the DVD. I know people can't see, but I'm showing you on Skype.
Oh!
But you think Hellraiser, you think Pinhead and the Cenobites, but I don't think they even appear. I mean, briefly at the beginning, but I don't think they really appear to about an hour in.
It's more of a kind of It is. It's like a play about like a relationship and obsession and kind of cheating on people and sort of feeling sort of strangulated in a relationship, and just it's not really about. It's certainly not about Pinhead, like in that sense.
Yeah.
And like when it's the second film's a bit like Pinhead Goes to Hollywood. It's a bit like it was literally the audience. When we love this character, the studio listened and was like, right, we know what the focus is now. It's this character.
Well, he didn't even have a name in this one, did he? I think he was just
lead Cenobite.
the lead Cenobite. And then people started calling him Pinhead. And then I believe in the second one, he was credited as Pinhead.
Yes, that's right. And I know that Clive Barker doesn't like... Oh, isn't... I mean, he seems really chilled out from what I was like about a lot of things. But... he not a fan of Pinhead, feels it kind of undersells the elegance of that character, the threat and the elegance. It's kind of like a nickname, really, isn't it?
But Butterball is fine.
Yeah, Butterball. Yeah, and he's got like one of his friends to play that character as well. It's like, you're going to play a character called Butterball. He is a bit all over the place. We said this last time with Nightbreed, didn't we, about with names where you've got these like names that are really impossible to pronounce or maybe come from, I don't know, Lovecraft or various different backgrounds and things that he's kind of researched. And then you've just got like Rachel.
Yeah.
Oh, Butterball. Yeah, it is odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like this is kind of weird just juxtaposition, because it does like a lot of the cultural sort of touch points of it. It's all over the place. It's just stuff that he finds really interesting. So it's like punk and Catholicism and S&M clubs that he went to, and in Amsterdam and New York, and then like looks at Pinhead and goes, oh, I saw this really interesting thing about African fetishes, about to keeping the sanity, and he makes this character. It's like he's just picking from so many different things. He's just full of, at this point, just full of creativity, isn't he? And like interest, but a lot of it is things that he's into himself. Yeah,
I've just realised I've made a note here. And I've actually got Pinhead only gets around 8 minutes of screen time.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's less than I thought.
Yeah, 8 minutes.
He really didn't have that much sights to show us.
We have such sights to show you.
But it's good though that like sometimes that works for the best, particularly like economy of characters. It's a bit like Jaws, isn't it? Jaws is the perfect example. It's like we're not so sure how this is going to turn out on screen, so we'll play with that a bit more. Same with Psycho, and there's loads. You've got to do it carefully.
I prefer it like that. I prefer not actually seeing or having much to do with the killer until more the final parts of the movies.
Yeah. Even last week with Mrs. Voorhees.
Yeah.
She just pops up, doesn't she? Yeah. I mean, she's in it, but you don't know it would look really funny if you did see her more in the film. But yeah, running around as we said last week. But yeah, the character that leads Cenobite and the other Cenobites, they're kind of like a real mishmash of like sexual greed, control, pain, pleasure. They personify it when it's at its peak. But to be fair, I didn't realise how good Clare Higgins is in this. Like, I listened to Clive Barker talk about her saying she had a lot of issues with her Catholicism, with kind of being a bad kid and getting into trouble and kind of being saved by the theatre and all this kind of stuff. She's the perfect actress to play this character who is obsessed with this horrible person.
Yeah.
And what she's willing to do, literally help him rebuild himself through other people. She doesn't care, does she, about anything other than the obsession she has with this man. And she's really, really good in it. I didn't realise it. I know she's at this year's For the Love of Horror in Manchester.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, so she'd be really interesting to interview. She'd be like, just to kind of see what she brought to it, because I know that she was like quite distant from what's our friend Laurence? What's her first name? Laurence. Mind's gone blank. Ashley Laurence. Yeah. She's got that kind of. She kept a distance from her and a coldness. Was really deep into this character.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what she has to say about it.
I've got a really fun trivia fact for her later on.
Oh, cool. Oh, that'll be good. I look forward to that. Yeah, because stay tuned, everyone.
I can tease you. You can't find out until the end.
That's what they call a teaser, is it? Yeah. We have. I don't know. Do I have any trivia? I don't think I've got any.
No.
I usually have one, don't I? But it's that kind of. It's really self-assured for a first-time director. And I was thinking he must be really super confident or been really confident about it. But it turns out like he had to fight his corner a few times with the cinematographer, Robin Vidgeon. He had to fight his corner a little bit about kind of how much to show and what to show in terms of what a classic movie would show. Like certainly at the beginning with the gore at the beginning, how much. And he was like, I want to do this like... our friend, the Fly Cronenberg, does, where there's gore early on, and he was thinking about scanners and getting gore in there straight away to kind of literally take the audience by the scruff of the neck early on, and then kind of once you've got them in the palm of your hand, you don't have to have as much of it in the rest of the film. And he didn't sound as confident as I thought he would when I heard him talking about it, Clive Barker. He was more like, I listened to the people who knew what they were doing, but I had an idea of what I wanted to do. Some of the actors didn't quite trust me as much as I'd like them to because I was new, and I was just didn't realize how much I'd have to work with egos and kind of help them out and get them through it. Not in a bad way, but get them through it. So it was really interesting listening to him talk about it and be so open and honest and not just be like, oh yeah, I was dead confident straight away. Because it comes across like that, doesn't it? Like he really knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Everything in it is spot on.
Yeah. Just to go back to the filming location, because we joked around about Cricklewood. So this film was originally supposed to be set in England, but the studio company New World, they thought it would be more marketable if it was actually set in America. So,
really?
Yeah, many of the English actors, in particular Sean Chapman and Oliver Parker, they play Frank and, skinless Frank. They were dubbed by American actors.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That was mentioned as well. So I was saying I think I was listening to the commentary, and he was saying about we managed to do that, but you didn't notice that there was a British train. Like a very obvious British train. And to be fair, they are very obvious British houses as well.
Yeah.
But I suppose I guess you'd have to be British to kind of think anything of that. To be fair, it's a bit like Nightbreed. In Nightbreed, he was like, "This is Canada." How often is a film like it's usually Canada pretending to be America? If you're a Canadian, that must be really frustrating. I even think the original Fly is set in Canada because I think the story was set in France, but they were like, we'll do it in French Canada. And yeah, I thought it was interesting. For Canadians, must be just like, just like literally film something in our country and say it's Canadian, please. But he does in Nightbreed. Clive Barker does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
whereas in Britain passes for everywhere, doesn't it?
It does feel very British though, to me.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
But,
I agree.
What do you make of the whole franchise? Because I think there's 11 in total, including the new remake that came out last year. I think there's 11 of them.
I mean, they have their ups and downs. I think
mostly downs.
This is mostly downs. Yeah, I would say that. I mean, I will get something out of sort of bad inverted commas films as much as I would out of something like a big blockbuster. So if it's entertaining in a silly way, then I'd rather that than boring. But a couple of them in the sequence are boring. Some of them, I think this is the sort of franchise where you think, oh, actually the first one is the best. And is what you'd expect in franchises. I know I've come to you and said, "Oh, I prefer 3 or 4 or 10 of a franchise because I'm just a weirdo." But in terms of this one, the first one is, I would say, from my point of view, is the best made, the best story. It is kind of has some sort of logic to it. The later ones are just kind of like, some of them just feel like they're just about, I don't know, just having Hellraiser films made with Pinhead in them. Yeah. Even when they can't get Doug Bradley, or Doug Bradley's like, I don't like this story, they still keep plodding on. They still keep going. The second one is closest to the first. The third, it gets a little bit further away. And by the time you get some of them, and they're not too bad, but I get them all confused. The one with the investigative journalist is super boring.
Yeah, that one got a bit too CSI.
Yeah, I just can't pin down that one. Bloodline isn't too bad, but again, yeah, I'm just kind of thinking through them, and the two guys who go on the guys who go to Mexico to get drunk and get laid during spring break or whatever, that's probably my least favorite one. I can't remember which one that is. I'm so confused. But that one for me is my least favorite. There's horrible characters. They try and bring it back to a family bit, but it doesn't quite work. There's a bit of a sort of thing where he's incestuously leching on his sister while he's kind of taken over by, I don't know what he's taken over by, but yeah, that's the worst one for me. I don't mind Inferno.
I think that's as far as I got to in the franchise. Inferno.
Yeah.
That's the
I was going to say, like, I think the only one I've not seen is Hellworld, which I think will be spectacularly silly. It's like one of those 2000s. We're in a RPG and it's on the web, the dark web.
Just realised, actually, those two, Hellworld and Deader, which is the one before, they were both released in the same year, both in 2005.
I think they were filmed back to back.
Were they? I don't even know. I mean, I love this. This is probably one of my most favourite horrors. Just to run through them all in order. So it's this one, so Hellraiser, then Hellraiser 2, Hell on Earth, Bloodline, Inferno, Hellseeker, Deader, Hellworld, Revelations, Judgment, and then the 2022 remake, which I actually really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the remakes. I normally hate remakes of good classic horrors, but I thought that one did it justice.
It had some, for me, I thought it started off really promisingly. Some nice visuals at the end.
It did lose it a little bit in the middle. But I think none of them are as bad as Deader. Deader is the worst. I think I just burst out laughing at the end of that one. It's like it doesn't. That one was the worst. There was nothing positive about it for me. It'd be great if somebody. I always try. I think we discussed this before. We always try and find something good in it in each film. But Deader felt like a bit of a cash in for me without a story. I honestly can't remember where I got to. I would imagine it would be somewhere around Inferno or Hellseeker, but I couldn't even manage it all the way through, so I threw in the towel.
I think I was like, I'm going to watch all of these, and then I think I got to Hellworld. Asleep, actually. I'm out.
I don't know.
Inferno's pretty bad.
I don't think Clive Barker had anything to do with all the sequels afterwards, did he? Was it only the first one?
Not really, no, nothing, no.
I think the remake, he was a co-writer or producer or... Yeah,
and I think...
some kind of involvement in the remake.
There's a YouTube thing that I watch and called Movie Timelines. Don't know if you've ever seen it. Or Horror Timelines, should I say. And the guy on it, Josh Spiegel, he does this thing called Dead Last, where everybody ranks the films, and I think the newest one came quite high up in like his, and I think everybody was just like, yeah, the first one's amazing, and then you can kind of have a big argument about all the others about which is the worst.
I honestly can't remember the second one. I know it carries straight on, but
I think it just goes 1, 2, 3, and then the rest.
Yeah,
really.
3 I quite like. 3 was all right. Was that the one with the CD Cenobite guy?
Yeah, which is great, isn't it? It's just like it's sort of like it places it in a time, doesn't it? Things like that. A bit like Hellworld, I imagine will do, where it's sort of like, ooh, you know, we're playing an RPG, we're sucked into an online role-playing game on the internet. Please let me check my modem's working.
I think Motorhead did the song for that in the credits, didn't it? The final credits. I think Motorhead did the song Hellraiser for that one.
Oh wow!
Such a great song.
I do kind of want to watch it now.
Yeah.
It's the only one I've not watched. There are some pretty decent actors in that as well. Maybe it'll surprise me, or maybe it won't. Henry Cavill's in it as well, which is interesting.
Is he?
I'm not necessarily... I didn't realise that. Lance Henriksen and Doug Bradley is Pinhead in it, rather than the other gentleman who takes over.
Wow.
So yeah, maybe even though it's a
has been a
4.2 on IMDb, but I don't see that as a reason to put me off. I think I have seen Revelations, which has got a spectacular 2.7 on IMDb. No Doug Bradley. And then it just peters out, because that's 2011. It just kind of peters out, doesn't it?
I don't read too much into the scores.
I don't.
I mean, Nightbreed, that is literally one of my favourite films, and I think that got like 40-something% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, the only way I read into them sometimes is if I'm looking to watch a sort of a bad movie night, for want of a better word. If it's a bit too high, if the rating's a bit too high, I know I'm not going to enjoy it. If it's kind of in the middle, like a 5, like, it's not going to be bad enough. Like, it needs to be lower.
Right. Are you ready to head into the spoilers?
Yeah, I think we've covered everything.
Yeah.
So let's go. I believe you have such sights to show me.
I do.
We have such sights to show you.
Oh, you really do.
Spoiler warning.
Alright, so this film starts off in Morocco. Frank Cotton, a hedonist, buys a puzzle box said to open the door to a realm of otherworldly pleasure. At home in his bare attic, Frank solves the puzzle and hooked chains emerge, tearing him apart. A black-robed figure resets the puzzle and the room is restored back to normal. What do you reckon of this opening scene? It reminded me a little bit like of The Exorcist and Gremlins.
The Exorcist and Gremlins, go on, you need to explain that.
I'm not...
What, combined?
Well, The Exorcist, that starts very similar in it's like a Middle Eastern country.
Okay.
You know, kind of thing. But
sorry.
The guy
I thought you meant like a gremlin in the bed, like, you know.
No. The guy, I forget what he says. Like, what is your pleasure, or something.
Oh yes,
you know,
yeah. It's that kind of. I think that is a thing, though, and that goes back to, this is a really weird one, but I did do a bit of research in that. Why do things keep popping up in films where it's like an Eastern kind of box or thing or object? It goes back to Britain's kind of sailor history and people off sailing around the world. And it goes back to that and kind of people bringing back treasures and showing them to like little boxes and puzzle boxes and things. And I think even in this, or Clive, because being from Liverpool, being a port, his grandfather was a sailor and he brought back a little puzzle box for him. Not exactly like this, but
oh, really?
Kind of that gave him the idea. And I was
wow.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense because, well, this is terrible because we're a horrible, horrible country, aren't we? We just go around the world colonizing everywhere. But what we did was sail everywhere. Well, I guess we weren't going to take a car, were we, Matthew? But anyway, no. Well, yeah, we sailed everywhere, and imagine a lot of working class people would come back with gifts and things for their families, and that's probably some of those things might look a bit spooky, you know, like tiki dolls and
Yeah.
creepy things, and that's maybe where it all comes from. Interesting, though.
That visual effect of the hooked chains, it's like a very, very close up of it tearing his skin, like hooking into his skin and tearing it apart. That was very, very cool.
It's really cool. It's like I said earlier on about he's taken a page from Cronenberg and Scanners, and like something shocking straight away to get the audience in the palm of your hand. He said he like takes the audience. He literally pulls them apart, and then we get into some exposition and bits and bobs like that. But it's really cool. I think that sort of it's unique. I've not seen anything like that before, which you can probably say for a lot of Clive Barker stuff.
Yeah,
he's nothing if not original. He's always original.
So later, Frank's brother Larry moves into the same house. When Larry accidentally cuts his hand moving furniture, his blood drips on the attic floor and resurrects Frank in a ghoulish form.
A ghoulish form.
It's like a goopy torso that can scream like a goat.
Yeah. I like the little flashbacks to original OG Frank with skin.
Yeah.
Because she's just like got the hot. It just shows she's got the hots for him. It makes me feel like when he's leaning on the doorway, and it's like that's like Stanley Kowalski, like Streetcar Named Desire, Marlon Brando, kind of raw sexual magnetism kind of thing they're trying to get across. You need to know that. Otherwise, what's the point in bringing him back?
Yeah.
If she doesn't think he's absolutely, she just wants to ravish him and be ravaged by him. It's like obsession straight away. So it has to be quite sexy, doesn't he? Straight away, overtly, because otherwise you're just like, why would someone want to bring this big gloopy blob back to life? It's not for me, thanks.
I love that visual effect, though. Do you know how they did that?
Oh. No.
They so the scene of Frank coming out of the floorboards and his flesh regenerating, that's a mixture of animatronics and wax being melted and then played back in reverse.
Ooh, that's almost like your kind of what's he called? Jason the Argonauts. All right, Harryhausen, kind of metal skeletons and build them around them. Oh, that's so cool. Because I know that Clive Barker did some of the animation on the film as well.
Oh, okay.
So he did mention that. I'm not even sure if he's credited for it.
What did little?
Which I think is either
the puzzle box bit, like towards the end, like the lightning kind of things.
Yeah, because he is an artist, isn't he? He's like in more, obviously he's a film director, he's an artist, and a writer, but like he's very visual as well and makes things himself. So I like that. I like that about it. I like the thought, the detail that goes into it, and it obviously has fought his corner about showing what some might class as too much, but I think it's the right amount. I think he just, because sometimes with these sort of effects, it's not the amount that they're showing. It's about, I don't know why. I don't know how these censors think about these things, because it doesn't often make any sense. It's like, well, you can show them being in pain, but you can't show them enjoying it. You can show blood and guts, but if he smiles or there's anything sexual, it's like, I'm not quite sure what you think. You seem to think that sexuality is much, much worse than horrific violence, which is really telling about what's acceptable on screen. Like, surely we should be offended more by like sexual violence and more by, of course, sexual violence, but any kind of violence than we are by somebody enjoying themselves in a consensual way. It's really weird. But like, I think that comes through in a lot of Clive Barker's stuff. He's pushing that. He's pushing it all the time, isn't he? How much can I show? How much can I enjoy? How much of what people enjoy can I show?
I made a note. I was like, that house is so disgusting. Maggots everywhere, crusty old stained mattress on the floor, just filth. And I made a note. I was like, No wonder he had to find pleasure somewhere else, because there ain't no way he's bringing girls back to that house.
That's true. That's true. Oh man, yeah, I'm not maggots. Oh my word, yeah, do not do it for me.
What about the rats?
Oh,
what about the rats in the basement?
Rats
thought
are
of you
my number one least favourite thing ever in the world. Maggots are probably like there's a big gap, and then maggots. This is a strange one, and it's just come back to me. I don't know why. When I was a kid, I used to watch Grange Hill. So this is a very British story. I used to watch Grange Hill, and there was a part in Grange Hill where this girl put a load of maggots down a kid's back. And I was eating like a steak and kidney pudding at the time with all little bits of mince in it. And I've never eaten a steak and kidney pudding since, and it always comes back to me. So, like, yeah, one of those little moments that forms you things you don't like and you do like. So I wasn't happy about when the maggots popping up, the rats. Discussing the maggots in detail in the commentary with Ashley Laurence and Clive Barker, and how they were going down a top, and they were putting them in different materials to make them make a squishy sound more so you could hear them moving around. I was just like, oh my, no, stop with the maggot talk. No more maggot chat. So yeah, that definitely answers your question about maggots and rats. Are you okay with things like that? I'm
all right with things like that, yeah. I mean, I've had all kinds of pets over the years. I mean, you know, snakes, you know, I've had small snakes, big snakes, so I've had to feed rats at some point to my snakes. But I've not alive ones, like, you know.
No, I was just say, yeah, just unhook your jaw once coming in. I don't mind snakes. But yeah, rats.
Nowadays, I've only got 3 tarantulas, so I feed them, you know, all kinds of bugs, you know, crickets, locusts, and different kinds of worms and that. But
well, last night I had a freaky one with a hornet stung my dog when we were outside.
Oh wow!
In the back garden, and she started jumping around, and she doesn't show any pain. My dog, she just kind of looks at you with and doesn't make any noise or anything. And what she done is it attacked her. She then tried to swallow it or crunch it to stop it hurting her. So then I had to fish it out of her mouth.
Oh, great.
And then we had to get tweezers out and try and pull the stinger out. Oof. And she had a few twitches for an hour or so, and then she was totally fine. Just totally back to normal, and just, yeah.
Was it just one hornet?
Yeah, yeah. It was like, she's just, my dog's just a badass.
Wow.
Like, for a little girl, little tiny little girl, she's very, very affectionate and soft and gentle, and like, she looks at you, but if she's in pain, she just doesn't sell it. She just sells pain. It's just so strange. So I'm trying to work out. It's really hard to work out and where it's hurting, because she just looks at you like with nothing going on. Bless her.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't mind things like those kind of creatures, but maggots and rats, I think the slimy tails of the rats, the little teeth of the rats. Maggots, I think it's just the sliminess and the unpredictability of them.
Yeah.
No thanks.
It's one thing when you got them in like a tub as food. Like for me, when I get like a tub of mealworms or whatever,
somewhere where you're in control, I guess.
But when it's roaming around your kitchen and your pots and pans, nah.
Yeah, that's it. It's an easy way to creep people out, isn't it, in a film? It's relatively cheap. Let's go to the local fishing shop. I feel like we're going to spend about half an hour talking about maggots.
Yeah, I know. We better move on.
Maggot pod. Maggot chat. Your number one podcast for maggot-related trivia.
Right, so where are we?
2 minutes in.
Yeah. Julia then finds Frank in the attic. He explains what's happened to him and how he needs her help to restore his body. She agrees to help so they can run away together.
Oh, that's nice.
Julia picks up men in bars and brings them back to the attic, where she brutally smashes them in the back of the head with a hammer.
Ow.
Yeah, Frank.
Yeah, that's not so sweet, is it?
No.
She looks like she was accessing a lot of anger in those moments.
Yeah. Frank then drains their life, which regenerates his body. Frank explains to Julia that having exhausted all sensory experiences, he sought out the puzzle box, which was supposed to provide access to a realm of new carnal pleasures. When the puzzle was solved, the Cenobites came to subject him to extreme sadomasochism.
What a saucy sod he is.
Ooh.
He's a saucy one. Yeah. So you imagine this being remade as a carry-on film would be fine funny.
Disgusting!
I was thinking like Sid James as like Pinhead. I don't know, or maybe Kenneth Williams. Well, yeah. When she is bashing these guys on the head, you can see like she will do. It's just like she will do anything for this guy.
Yeah, especially after the first one.
You've got that through the flashbacks. You've got that through the literally like the nailing of each other, which was deliberate, I believe. The sort of the closeness, uncomfortable closeness between them, and it's really interesting because that is essentially Streetcar Named Desire. That is theatre. And when I looked, and I thought that first, and I said to you about him leaning in the doorway like Stanley Kowalski in Streetcar Named Desire, that Clare Higgins played Stella in A Streetcar Named Desire as well. And I was like, no way, that all ties in. They're really accessing that horrible sexual obsession and sweatiness, and yeah, and it works. Yeah. It really works. It's like they're both really sort of intense.
Yeah, when you said that bit where you can really tell she's liking what she's doing, she knows what she's doing, and she is just, on a mission to do this. But when you see the first guy that she brings back, because they kind of fly through the rest of them, but the first one she brings back, once they get back to the house and they're downstairs, you can see she's like a little bit nervous. And this guy was getting the ropes. Yeah, this guy was getting a bit rapey, And then,
is that the balding guy?
Yeah.
After he looks so offended that he's got bashed in the head. He's like, why are you doing this? This isn't fun at all.
But like, he was pushing her a bit, getting a bit rapey, and then her face kind of dropped and be like, "Hey, let's go upstairs," and then that was it.
Yeah, it's like. Oh, you want this, do you? Oh, let's see how that goes. Yeah. Let's see how this ends up for you. You can be a bit of Frank.
Oh man! So Frank was explaining that his nerve endings are healing, but to be honest, you don't want to get stuck in that sweet spot where your nerves are coming back, but you still got no skin.
No skin. He's like flayed, and the veins are really. Apparently, that's all about his vulnerability as well. Like like you've said there, really, isn't it? That spot where he's got feelings, in the sense of nerves, but no skin. He's more vulnerable. She has to kind of protect him in a way and provide for him. And I just literally put, then we start speeding up the sacrificing of horny men.
Yeah.
And she becomes like more Bride of Frankenstein with the hair as well. Like her hair gets so big.
Yeah.
She's got that look of Bride of Frankenstein. It'd be funny if she had the like white sort of shock things through them as well. It looked really funny.
Yeah, because he can't exactly do it himself, can he? All you got to do is poke him, and he's like, "Ah,
yeah."
And
she just fucking can't stand her husband as well.
Oh,
like he repulses her, doesn't he?
Larry.
Like, yeah, it's like, oh, she just doesn't even want to touch him. And when the husband and the lover are in the same room, this is a farce. Really, it's like a farce. It's like she's like, I can't bear it. It's like which can't you bear? I think it's Larry that you can't bear, not the idea of what's happening to Larry. I think that's maybe played for that.
Oh, poor Larry.
Ambiguity. I know. And he's just like, you're so lovely, you're so sexy. And she's like, yeah.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, he is a bit of a wet flannel, really, isn't he?
He is. But, come on. Give the guy a break.
Yeah.
He's about to go through a lot.
Yeah.
And they live in a grotty, horrible house. Yeah. And it's Larry that's watching boxing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just trying so hard to be manly, and he's got so much frustration and anger. Yeah. And it's like they're quite clever. They put these things in. They don't hit you over the head with them. They just subtly tell you little clues about the personalities of the character.
That was quite funny, that bit, when he turns to her and says something like, "Oh, I thought this used to repulse you." She's like, "Yeah, I've seen worse now."
Yeah.
Just go upstairs, you'll see.
Yeah, it's he plays that well, because he could just be a bit of, and he is like a bit of a sad sack, but it's a strange character to be asked to play in a film, really, isn't it? The cuckolded husband. But we're not supposed to side with any of them, really, I don't think. Maybe our hero's Ashley Lawrence's character, isn't it? I guess. And she's pretty reluctant. It's not like she's just coming to save the day or anything. She's just like, she's put into these circumstances she has to do something about. So it's not there's no like classic final boy, final girl, good guy, bad guy. There's more shades of grey in this. It is more theatrical in that sense. It is more a character study. It is, you can understand why critics liked it, because Kirsty's not like this character that is sort of a classic final girl trope kind of thing. It was I believe that what's she called from Chucky films? Jennifer Tilly was up for playing that role originally, and it had been a completely different film.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah,
it just needed a bit of subtlety, and she's actually quite good when she pops up. She's quite good in it, I think, because she just plays she's in the moment. It's not anything. The decisions that she makes are all in the moment. They're not like, "Oh, you fool!" Like none of those like horror movie moments where just somebody being silly. It's like just somebody being kind of trapped and trying to work out what the hell is going on.
Yeah. I do think Ashley Lawrence is probably the best actress in this film. I think she plays it really well. Yeah. I mean, Julia is good, or whatever.
Yeah, no, I think you're right in the sense of she plays it more naturalistic and more grounded. I think everyone else is quite theatrical.
Yeah.
Julia is a bigger character.
I like Julia more as the film got on. I thought the more the film went on, the more what's the word I'm looking for? Evil she's trying to get, you know.
Oh, the evil. Yeah. you want the opposite of that. Yeah, you warm to her evilness. I think it became more of a, yeah.
She seemed somewhat kind of normal at the beginning. Yes. I mean, you knew she cheated on old Larry.
She became more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like her. I like her as I liked her more on this watch than any other watch I've watched. Any other watch I may have watched. Any other times I've seen the film, I think that I really appreciated her character a bit more this time. Maybe because I was listening to Clive Barker discussing her as an actress a bit more. I had a bit of background to it. You don't tend to get that when you're watching it without somebody chatting through it.
I think in that scene as well, because we've not long seen Kirsty for the first time, but this is where you see her working in the pet store.
Yeah.
And then she looks over and that like homeless guy is just munching on a handful of crickets. I didn't really understand that guy. I mean, you see him at the end. We'll get to it. Yeah, we'll get to it at the end.
I'm not quite sure. I did write down something about that, and then I just was like, I don't know, I'll allow it.
Yeah. I've never really understood him, but I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it'll become clear as I'm going through it. So Kirsty sees Julia bringing a man back to the house and follows her to the attic where she finds Frank, Uncle Frank. She evades Frank and escapes with the puzzle box, collapsing shortly after. Awakening in a hospital, Kirsty solves the box out of curiosity and unknowingly summons the Cenobites and a monster called the Engineer, which she narrowly escapes.
Is that the one that's going down the corridor after, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, when they made that that was on a trolley. It's like on a hostess trolley. They're like pushing it along. Yeah, that's really cool. I love that sort of creativity of movement and trying to get. They were like trying to get her to move, to get it to really fast.
Yeah, that's a bit like American Werewolf in London then, because I think they did the same. Same kind of thing.
Maybe there's just trolleys in all, because like hospitals, trolleys kind of around, aren't they? Yeah. And when she comes back to consciousness as well, and there's that flower coming back on the screen, and then I think that's really quite an interesting transition, similar to when we watched American Werewolf in London, where he wakes up and what's going on the TV and the nurse being there and these dreams are all kind of mishmashed together. I like that kind of netherworld of mixed up stuff of what's going on in somebody's head as they're waking up from something. And they did it really well with that flower, like on the TV. I thought that was quite nice, quite pretty.
I didn't look at who did the special effects for this, but I really liked the design of the engineer.
I know that the makeup was and sort of lots of practical effects were Bob Keane, who did Candyman and Life Force, and I think we've talked about before. We've got a bit of that.
I do mention Bob Keane actually in one of my trivia notes, but
okay, cool.
So did he design the engineer then as well?
I think so. Yeah, and. It's all very, very self-assured from the viewing point of view, but then when you think that we're sticking things on trolleys and we're kind of working out how much of these monsters should we show and all that as we go, that doesn't show, does it, in the film? Like, in the film, it all comes across as really tight and well put together. Obviously, the editing, if you've got an editor who's been editing all the way back to the 40s, they obviously know the job.
Yeah.
But then I guess Clive Barker's going, we need a little bit more blood in this, or we need a little bit more slime in this. That's quite an awkward conversation with somebody who's been doing it for so long.
I've made a note as well. I was like, because when Kirsty is in like the hospital bed and she's playing with a puzzle box, I was like, this puzzle can't be that hard to solve, because she's like just fiddling with it for like 30 seconds.
Rubik's cubes are harder.
Solved it. Easy.
I don't think I could. If you gave me a Rubik's cube now, I wouldn't be able to solve it. So that would be better.
Yeah, just give me a puzzle box, complete it, mate.
Yeah, completed it. It's really nice as well. Really nice, but really beautiful. I think the bathed in light and neon that's done in there, and that is the cinematography of Robin Vidgeon. But the showing more of the monsters, that 100% is Clive Barker's choice. So you've got the best of both worlds. You've got neon light, beautiful, but you've also got, these monsters cost a lot. Let's get them on screen. Let's show them.
So the Cenobites leader, Pinhead, attempts to force Kirsty to return to their realm with them. She informs Pinhead that Frank escaped them. The Cenobites agree to spare Kirsty and recapture Frank instead, with the condition that Frank must confess to escaping them. So yeah, this is literally like an hour into the movie and we're seeing the Cenobites for the first time.
Yeah, and like say, he's obviously fought to get them on screen a little bit longer. Everything gets a little bit more confusing, certainly for Kirsty. What's going on? There's that. Everything gets a bit more messy and dirty. The characters get a bit more messy and dirty, which I believe Clive Barker was really up for, and nobody else was really pushing for this, which was to have people sweaty and tired and sort of looking knackered in these moments, certainly from this part onwards, because he saw that in the Dario Argento films, like unshaved heroes who are just like looking a bit out of, like kind of out of step with everybody else because there's a lot going on. And that makes perfect sense. Like, rather than having some perfect looking, beautiful woman, or, teenagers who are like wearing sort of provocative clothing or whatever it is, he's not going that way, is he? He's not going the sort of camp slasher or American kind of way. He's going like things are getting down and dirty. Before that's become more popular these days, there's more grimy kind of films, isn't there? That have kind of certainly early to mid 2000s more grimy. But he's got a mainstream film that is quite grimy.
I've got a note. Got a note here on this scene saying Butterball probably being the least intimidating. He's just a fat dude with sunglasses on.
Yeah, the sunglasses are very 80s, aren't they? He looks like he should be in like a ZZ Top video or something. Like, yeah, he's quite funny. You put him with the CD guy, and you've got a party, really, haven't you? Like Huey Lewis and the News playing, and we're ready. We're off. Yeah, never thought about that too much because it does kind of. Meanwhile, the other side of the film, we've got like a Macbeth kind of level family, you know, your uncle, and this is what Clive Barker actually said to her, your uncle is your father and he's trying to have sex with you, but not in that order. Off you go. Like he's saying that, like, I'm like, what? Your uncle's your father and he's trying to have sex with you, but not in that order. Like, that's what he was saying to Ashley Laurence before some of the scenes. So you've got this really deep, weird, incestuous family drama going on. And then, like you say, you've got a guy with sunglasses on.
Yeah.
Just like, kind of going slurping away in the corner. It is a bit of a juxtaposition, but it works. It works for me. Makes it watchable.
So you got Pinhead, who wasn't Pinhead at this time. He was just the lead Cenobite. And then
he's just called Dave.
Dave. So you got the lead Cenobite, and then you've also got female Cenobite, and then you got Butterball and Chatterer.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah, I actually think he's the best one out of all of them, the Chatterer.
Yeah, it's just opening up and going a little bit too far, isn't it, in the face? So it's like, yeah, you're seeing it. It works. It works for me.
Yeah. So Kirsty returns home where Frank has killed Larry and has taken on his identity by wearing his skin. Julia shows her what is to be Frank's flayed corpse in the attic. The Cenobites appear, and not fooled by the deception, they demand the man who did this. Kirsty tries to escape, but is held by Julia and Frank. Frank's true identity is revealed when telling Kirsty to
come to Daddy.
So when he decides to kill her to complete his rejuvenation, but accidentally stabs Julia instead and drains her without remorse. So you may as well, you know.
He's like, I changed my mind. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, but whilst I'm here, let me just...
Yeah, you're more into me than I am into you, I'm afraid. So I know we've got this like relationship that spanned all these years, and you've done all these things, but nah, I'm done. I just need this last little bit of skin.
Did you notice the sound effect when he's like draining their bodies? It's like I noticed it in the attic upstairs, like when he was draining probably the last guy that you see. It's like slurping from a straw. It's like,
it's like I drink your milkshake.
Yeah.
He's full on Daniel Day-Lewis. Oh my word. Yeah. I hadn't noticed that. I'm glad I haven't. I was probably listening to Clive Barker chatting away on the last bit because he's like, and we're not up to the part yet, so I'll wait a minute. But there was a little thing that he said that made me that kind of references what I was talking to before about that editing of what censors look for. They don't like you enjoying your pain, basically.
When Kirsty sees Frank / Larry, you know, it's like he's wearing a mask. It's not very, you know, he's got blood kind of all around his face and his hair and his ears. But she just kind of looks straight past that and goes to him. You know, if it were me, I'd be like, you know, hey, what's up with your face? You know?
Something different.
What's going on?
Different about you? Have you changed your hair?
What's going on with your face there? Even his voice is the same, you know. Frank's voice has been the same kind of throughout the whole skinless Frank. But once he gets some skin, he sounds exactly like Larry.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Family thing? I don't know. I've got nothing on that.
Maybe he got his voice box.
Again, I hadn't considered that. No. There's a bit where I'm not sure if I think we might be just up to it, where no, it's nearer the end, but I must mention it. I laughed out loud, and I do every single time, with the Chatterer bride, where the sort of the lace falls down perfectly over the Chatterer. I just got to mention that. I think that's the funniest bit in the film. Because it's just like, that's not what you want to see when you're pulling back the veil on your wedding day, is it? It's like, you may now kiss the bride. You may now kiss the Chatterer. No, thanks.
So Frank chases Kirsty to the attic, and when he's about to kill her, the Cenobites appear. And after hearing him confess about killing her father, now they're certain that he's the one they're looking for, so they ensnare him with chains and hooks and tear him to pieces. But not before he says,
Jesus wept.
And then he gets torn again. He gets torn twice in this movie.
Yeah, that's true. How unlucky.
Yeah. It's been a rough week.
It's really strange because it just takes me people who, I don't know if you ever watched Community, the TV series Community, and the Dean does a VR thing, and he puts a VR helmet on, like a really old VR helmet, and he enjoys it so much, and he gets into it so much, he gets dragged into it, and then he's like, and Jesus wept, for there were no more worlds left to conquer, which I think is not a quote. I think it's a mashup of two quotes, and he just keeps saying it all the way through the episode. So all I can think of is like Dean Pelton from Craig, just call me Craig, from Community, saying Jesus wept. So I didn't take it as seriously as I normally do. But yeah, it's a good end.
Jesus wept.
Well, it's one of those ends that's quite satisfying in the sense of, like you said, it's very similar to what happens at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's topped and tailed.
So when the Cenobites attempt to take Kirsty, she grabs the puzzle box from Julia's dead hands and banishes them by reversing the motions needed to open the puzzle box. Kirsty's boyfriend Steve arrives, and they both escape. It
Thanks,
says,
Steve.
Yeah. Thanks for your help. She didn't really do a lot with that puzzle box. It says like she reversed it to send them back, but it just looked like she was kind of pointing it at them and pressing.
Like, bloop bloop bloop. Yeah, bloop bleep bleep.
Let me just do a half turn on this, and back you go.
Well, I've got my puzzle box here, and this is an audio podcast, but I won't do anything to it because I'm worried after watching Host that I'll just unleash everything on you rather than and I'm really after that kinky stuff for myself, so I don't want to share it with anyone. So I'll put my puzzle box back on my shelf safely. Maybe I'll see what happens another day when I'm more in the mood.
So, right, we're at the very final scene now. So, afterwards, Kirsty throws the puzzle box into a fire, and a vagrant who has been stalking Kirsty walks into the fire and retrieves the puzzle box before transforming into a winged skeleton-like creature and flies away. The box ends up with the same merchant who sold it to Frank, where he offers it to another customer.
He transforms like into this. I just think that's like, we're going to throw it in this, and then there will be no more sequels. We can safely say there will never be another Hellraiser movie.
No more.
And it's like, oh, not so fast. So fast. To be fair, I don't know if we need this end scene, really.
No, I don't think we do.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to ask you what you thought about it, because it'd be quite an amazing end for him to just be pulled apart, explode into a million pieces, and then be like, music.
Yeah. I mean, I liked how the puzzle box ended up back at the same merchant who sold it to Frank in the beginning. I like that. True. I just don't like the whole homeless kind of demon skeleton dragon thing. Just
some sort of burning bonfire in which they couldn't decide when I was listening to the commentary. Again, I'm just doing a recap of the audio commentary of this, but they couldn't decide if that was going to be their the remains of the house or just some local lot, as they say in America,
okay.
like some lot.
Yeah.
They couldn't decide. They're like, well, you wrote it, Clive, so you decide. Well, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And we'll never see Lead Cenobite again.
Lead Cenobite, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and rate this film. I was going to rate it on a 1 to 10 chained hooks. Or hooked
Chained
chains.
hookers.
Hooked
hooks.
chains.
Okay.
Chain hooks? I don't know. Whatever.
Okay.
Hooks and chains.
Wow.
Do you want to go first, or?
I can do. I'm quite sure. I think it's directed and written by Clive Barker. I'm right in saying that.
I think you're right.
I just feel like I've said this. It said Clive Barker a lot, and I haven't done the Clive Barker that we discussed earlier on about the dog, the dog meme that I sent you. But yeah, when he was 34, and I do think it is his best film that he did. I think it might be his best piece of work. I've not read. I think I've read 1 or 2 of his books. I've seen quite a lot of adaptations of his films, and I would say this is the best. I think this is claustrophobic theatre style, and I'm maybe hopefully the first person to say this, but I feel like it's a Streetcar Named Desire, but with lots of S&M and blood and guts, which sounds like a hell of a time. It wouldn't be improved by CGI, and I don't think Clive Barker would even entertain that. So if you like practical effects, it's great as well. It's not trash. It's not silly. It's not a silly film that people can make fun of. It takes itself seriously. Therefore, that's quite unusual for sort of 80s well, it's not big budget, but what ended up being a big franchise. So I'm going to give it 8. What was it, Whips and Chains or something? I'll give it 8 New York and Amsterdam S&M bars out of 10.
Awesome. All right. So I was back and forth with this one. I'll save my score to the end. So I've put Hellraiser, without a doubt, one of my most favourite movies. It's got a mixture of all my favourite things I look for in a horror. Great practical effects and makeup, and the score. We didn't even touch on the score, but Clive Barker. I'm a huge fan of Clive Barker. I really like his kind of dark, uneasy feel that you get from his work, but I feel like I connected with it more being like a British film. I know that sounds weird, but
I get that.
Yeah, just because I feel I can recognise where this is, The only thing that kind of brought it down a little bit for me was I wasn't a huge fan of Andrew Robertson, the guy that plays Larry. I thought his acting weren't that great. Feel there is some bits where he's kind of overacting. I'm not sure if he's like a theatre kind of... But, this was quite a low budget movie, so I would imagine they spent a lot of the budget, because this was only $1 million. I'd imagine they spent most of it on, the Cenobites and the special effects makeup and stuff. So
totally.
That, may have something to do with it. However, I think that Ashley Laurence, Kirsty, I thought she was fantastic. I thought she was great. She really drove it home, I think, on this one. But overall, loved the movie. Hate the franchise. I like the remake. I'm going to give it 8.5 out of 10 hooked chains.
Nice. I think you have more of again, like a nostalgic attachment to it than I do as well, which is always good when we do these, because like I say, I didn't watch them all when I was young. However, the ones that I kind of attach myself to as I go along, when we get to them, I will probably score them half a point to a point more than you do, just because I have that emotional attachment. I will mention as well, I think I did say earlier on that the romantic, lush score of the film really works as well. And I know he did Hellraiser 2 and Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Christopher Young, and did The Fly 2. And it is a really, really good, again, like theatrical score that adds to it. All those pieces that you said, all the things that you said, I totally agree with them. So we've done pretty well there. 2 8s to 16 plus 5, 16.5. There we go. Maths, quick maths.
Yeah, I didn't even touch on the fact actually when I know I told you this off the podcast, but we did Nightbreed 2 episodes ago, and I said on there how that was my very first horror I've ever watched because my dad had it on VHS, and we had like an old bookcase in the front room, and loved that one. That was my first one, and then we did Friday the 13th last week, and the one after, and again it was another VHS. It wasn't like an actual bought one, it was taped off the TV, so we had it written on the bottom. But this one as well, he had on VHS. He obviously likes his Clive Barker, but they were the only 3 horror films he owned that we had at home. And it just so happens to be these 3 films we've just done back to back in order. You've
done that, you've done that, some sort of tapping into childhood experiences. I was going to say trauma, but it's not trauma.
Yeah, unintentionally, just, yeah. Cool. Do you want to jump into some trivia?
Yeah. That sounds brilliant. I've got nothing, so I can't wait to hear you.
Well, I've got a lot. So.
Trivia. Oh, yeah.
So, apparently it took 6 hours to apply the prosthetic Cenobite makeup to Doug Bradley.
Yeah, there's a bit of... Maybe he was getting a bit of pleasure while that was going on as well. No, I don't mean getting a bit of pleasure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, yeah. Okay. I'm turning into Austin Powers now.
During a post-production party, when filming had ended, Doug Bradley, who plays Pinhead, was dismayed to be ignored by the other members of the crew. He thought that he got on rather well with them, but it wasn't until later on that he realised that none of the crew had actually seen him without his Pinhead makeup, therefore no one recognised him.
I think you should wear that all the time. once you're known as this character, that's it. 24 hours a day. Live the character.
This was the bit I had about Clare Higgins I thought you might like. Okay. So Clare Higgins, who plays Julia, she hates horror movies. So much so that when she saw this at the premiere, she left after 10 minutes. And she's still not seen it all the way through.
Really? That's probably why I didn't see her on any of the interviews that I watched about it. Because I know, like, she's more into a theatre, as are many of the people in this film. Well, yeah, wow. But so she got on really well with Mrs. Voorhees from last week.
Yeah.
Like, I just got it because I needed a new car.
Yeah. So, Andrew Robinson, who plays Larry, convinced Clive Barker to replace the scripted line, "fuck you," with the actual shot line,
Jesus wept.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, fuck you is overused in horror films, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just, especially in modern ones, just shouting it constantly, and in action films as well. To be fair,
yeah,
being a bit more creative.
Definitely.
Yeah. For Clive Barker, he was like, yeah, I should have thought of something better than fuck you.
So, when designing the look of Skinless Frank, Clive Barker and lead makeup artist Bob Keane went to an autopsy and watched a doctor skin an actual corpse.
Oh, that must have been a lovely day out for them.
I don't know.
Well, yeah.
I bet he loved it.
Do you think he does that? He would have been doing that anyway, even if they weren't making a film.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could either go TGI Fridays or there's an autopsy down the road. Oh yeah, I'm in.
Should we go?
There's laser tag.
Should we go hit up the morgue tonight? Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Sounds like a good night out.
Doug Bradley was originally offered a choice of roles, between one of the mattress movers and the lead Cenobite. He originally thought that it was important as a new film actor the audience should see his face, so he nearly turned down the role of the lead Cenobite Pinhead.
Right.
To be the mattress mover.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he gave the offer of any role, and he was going to be Clare. He was just like, why not? Yeah.
Yeah. So last one. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the film's original working title was Sadomasochists from Beyond the Grave.
Ah, yes. Yeah. It was like, I'm sure I heard that there was another joking one that somebody said at the same time when they were coming up with it. It was like an extra, like an old lady was an extra or something. It might have been the nun. And she was something like something like a fuck that's so good you would kill for, or something like that. And he was like, "It's a good title, not what I was expecting you to see, you to come up with."
Wow.
But yeah, that one sounds a bit more like a 1950s kind of, invasion of the body snatchers kind of thing.
Yeah, sadomasochists from Beyond the Grave. Yeah, all right. That's all the trivia I've got today. So
it's all the trivia I've got as well.
Yeah, well done, Matt. Well done.
Thanks. I did a lot of research. To be fair, I dropped mine in. I had a few little things I was going to say, like, the one I thought that was quite funny where he said, was it your uncle is your father and he's trying to have sex with you, but not in that order, or something like that. I just thought that was quite funny. But that was my only real bit of trivia, as I knew this was one of your favourites, and I wanted to give you the floor.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thanks for doing nothing.
Okay, well, you can redeem yourself now by our game.
I want to play a game.
I think I'd rather be in Saw.
So this game is the Rotten Tomatoes game.
One of my favourites.
Yeah, I know you like this one, don't you?
I did so well last time.
So I'm gonna pin Hellraiser against. You see what I did there?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Against other films, and you have to tell me which one has the highest Rotten Tomatoes score. So
Okay.
Hellraiser has a score of 70%.
Okay.
So first up is the other Clive Barker film that we've covered, Nightbreed.
Lower. Marvin.
Yay!
Okay. Keep cheering, guys, because I'm not going to get any wrong today.
6 out of 6, yeah?
Yeah.
Alright. Okay, next up, Creepshow.
Oh. Damn. Creepshow will be lower. So therefore, Hellraiser will be higher.
Ooh,
Yeah,
only just
like...
by
Really?
5%, yeah. 65% Creepshow has.
Yeah, it's quite a bit more split, I think. Who likes Creepshow?
So next up, we have Predator.
Oh, okay. So that Predator's going to be. Oh man, higher. Let's say higher.
Ooh, you're halfway there. Yeah, Predator has 80%.
Can't wait to get a speedboat. You're gonna give me a speedboat when we do this.
Okay. All right, next one. Higher or lower, 70%. Jason Goes to Hell.
Lower. Jason Goes to Hell is lower. Critically lower. As low as low gets. 12%.
You're not far off.
Oh, really?
16.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, fair.
Okay. What about Scream?
Oh, well, Scream. Oh, critics love Scream, didn't they? Straight away, so I'm going to go Scream higher. Is that it? Have I done them all?
You got one left. You've almost got full marks. Okay. So, last one. Higher or lower, 70%. Final Destination.
Oh, no. Final Destination, lower. Yes.
Wow, you got full marks.
I can't believe that's the first and last time that's ever going to happen, I think.
Yeah. That was really low. 36% Final Destination.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it wasn't going to be like... There's some creativity in it, but I didn't think critics were going to look at it and go, oh, this is something special we've got here. Like, you know, I just didn't... Yeah. Didn't see it. Didn't see that. But I can't believe it. Oh, man.
I know.
So what do I get?
I don't know. I haven't actually planned for you winning one.
No, that's probably the right thing to do. In fact, I know what I can do. I can seamlessly say that because I got 6 out of 6, I'm going to give away a gift to the first person that emails the podcast.
Ooh.
How about that? Ooh. So what's the podcast email again? I've forgotten.
allthingshorror666@gmail.com.
Okay, so for anyone, because I got 6 out of 6 on the quiz, which is never going to happen again, I'm going to give away a DVD of the rare giallo film Who Saw Her Die, starring James Bond, George Lazenby, from one of the greatest James Bond films ever on Her Majesty's Secret Service, Anita Strindberg, Adolfo Celli in the Aldo Lado film Who Saw Her Die. I'm going to send the DVD of that to you. All you need to do is send your address and name to the email allthingshorror666@gmail.com. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. And the first person to do that or leave a nice comment on one of our platforms gets this DVD. So come on, you listen to the end. You should get something to show for it.
Wow. That's good.
I didn't get anything for winning the quiz.
Cool.
Was that Pingu?
Yeah, I don't know why I played that.
Slipknot.
Cool. All right. Well, all we have left... Oh, I better talk about the poll pick. The poll pick is live. It went up live last night, so get over to Facebook and start voting on that, because our poll pick for this month is possession movies. So you got the choice of The Conjuring, The Possession, or The Exorcist. So we've got 2 polls. We've got one on Facebook and one on YouTube. You can go and vote on there.
I voted already.
I know you have.
Yeah, I voted. I was going to go for a film I haven't seen, and then I just thought, nah. This is why I needed to tell me what to watch, otherwise I just watch the same films over and over again. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, while we're talking about different ways of contacting us and things like that, I recently recorded, and I'm sure it's coming out soon, a podcast with the Creative Psychopaths podcast people, Mark and Matthew, and they were very friendly and open to me talking about a film that they hadn't seen, which was Massacre at Central High, which isn't to everyone's taste. We had a really good chat about it, really enjoyed it, and I tried to mention our podcast as much as humanly possible, because, you know, it's nice to kind of bring these little communities and groups together and chat about films together. So, go and check out their podcast. They've got some really good episodes to listen to, because it's podcast. It's how podcasts work. Such as I listened to their one they did on brain damage, which came out on the 29th of June, which is really, really good. And the episode that they did on Midsommar, I listened to those. I really enjoyed those. Matthew, very incisive. Mark is as well, but they've just got a really interesting dynamic. So, yeah, check those guys out.
Awesome. So, also next week, we're going to be doing Creepshow.
I knew there was something. We not mentioned Creepshow. Cannot wait. I've got a great picture of myself and the monster to send you from Creepshow. Love a bit of George Romero, love a bit of Stephen King, so let's go.
Yeah. Oh, actually, as well, I think we got some shout-outs.
Oh, go ahead.
So last week we did Friday the 13th, and we rated our top 3 Friday the 13th movies Can't even remember what order I did mine in.
No, I can't remember mine. I know that. Yeah,
we've had a couple of people
similar to yours.
Yeah, we've had a couple of people say what their top 3 are. So Leon Garbutt, his top 3 Friday the 13th are at number 1 is Part 6, Jason Lives. His second favourite is Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, and his third favourite is Freddy vs. Jason.
Wow. I think there was another. I think somebody else sent me one as well. I think it might have been Mark actually. Did I tell you those ones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I've got Part 6, Part 5, and then Jason X in third spot.
Ah.
Yeah. So another Jason X.
He's on board.
Lover.
With us.
Yeah. He's on the team. If only we'd have had more people like that when it came out.
Okay. Right, that's all I've got, unless you got anything else you want to add?
No, just thank you to all the people who keep listening, and we're going to keep doing more of the same. Just tell us what you like.
Yeah.
I don't know, goddamn, tell us what you don't like. But just keep in touch with us. We're really enjoying it. It's just good fun, isn't it? It's just fun. Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for making me watch Hellraiser again.
My
really
pleasure.
Appreciated it. Yes, I got lots of pleasure out of it, but not weird pleasure, just normal pleasure. Normal, boring 40-year-old bloke pleasure.
If you've liked today's episode, be sure to go and like us on Facebook. That's where we announce our next episodes, as well as each month doing a themed poll pick where you get to choose what you want us to watch. We like to hear from you, so please feel free to leave us a comment or send us a message, or you can even email us at allthingshorror666@gmail.com. That's all for today, so thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
I'll do some scary movie.
Like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?